Tell me something funny about Halloween or a cool story.
Okay, here's a funny one. A skeleton walks into a bar and orders a drink. The bartender says, "We don't serve your kind here." The skeleton says, "Come on, man, I don't even have flesh on my bones." Want to hear another one?
Definitely.
All right, here's another one. Two skeletons walk into a bar. The first one says, "Hey, I'll have a beer." The second one says, "I'll have the same." The bartender slides 2 glasses of water across the counter and says, "For you guys, it's on the house."
Tell me another.
All right, here's another one. Why don't skeletons go to parties? Because they have nobody to dance with.
That's funny. What about another? Tell me another one.
All right, here's another one. What do you call a lazy kangaroo? A pouch potato. Want to hear another joke?
Tell me a cool story about Halloween.
All right, here's a spooky story with a bit of a twist. In a small town called Willow Creek, there was an old, abandoned mansion rumored to be haunted. Kids would dare each other to go inside, but no one ever made it past the creepy front porch. One Halloween night, a group of teenagers decided to face their fears. Armed with flashlights and a healthy dose of bravado, they crept onto the property. The inside was just as eerie as the outside, with cobwebs everywhere and furniture covered in dust. They split up to explore, each promising to stay close. But one by one, they vanished without a trace. The next morning, the town was in an uproar. The missing teens were nowhere to be found. Some said they'd been spirited away by ghosts, others by the mansion itself. Years later, on a particularly foggy Halloween night, a new group of kids dared to explore the mansion. As they stepped through the front door, they heard a faint whisper, "Welcome home."
What happened next?
The kids froze, their flashlights aimed into the darkness. A cold draft swept through the mansion, and the hairs on the back of their necks stood on end. Then they heard a soft scratching sound coming from upstairs. With trembling hands, they pointed their flashlights towards the source of the noise. Creeping up the stairs, their hearts pounded in their chests. At the top of the stairs, they found an open door. Peering inside, they saw a large dusty room filled with old toys and children's clothes. And sitting in the rocking chair in the corner was an old, withered woman, her eyes glowing in the dim light. She looked at the kids with a knowing smile and whispered, "It's time to play."
What did they do after that?
The kids were frozen in fear, their minds racing. They wanted to run, but their legs felt like jelly. The old woman's smile grew wider, and she beckoned them forward with a gnarled finger. Just then, a bolt of lightning lit up the room, and the kids saw their chance. They turned and sprinted down the stairs, their hearts pounding in their chests. Behind them, they heard the old woman's cackle echoing through the mansion. They burst out the front door and ran as fast as they could, never looking back. From that day on, the mansion was off limits. No one dared to go near it again, and the legend of the Willow Creek Witch lived on.
So nobody could go in the mansion no more?
That's right. After that night, the Willow Creek Mansion became a place of legend. People were too scared to even go near the place. Some said the witch still lived there, waiting for her next victims. Others said the whole thing was just a spooky story to scare kids. But one thing was for sure. The mystery of the Willow Creek Mansion continued to fascinate and frighten people for generations to come.
That sounds pretty cool. Tell me another story.
All right, here's another one. In a small coastal town, there was an abandoned lighthouse on a rocky cliff. Legend said it was haunted by the ghost of a lighthouse keeper who'd gone mad and fallen to his death many years ago. One stormy night, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers decided to explore the lighthouse. As they climbed the winding staircase, the wind howled outside, and the old building creaked and groaned. When they reached the top, they found the lighthouse keeper's room. It was dark and dusty, with a single flickering candle on a table. And that's when they saw a figure standing by the window, watching the storm.
That sounds pretty cool.
All right, I have another one for you. This one's a little different, though. It's about a group of college students who decide to spend a weekend camping in an old, abandoned campground deep in the woods. They hear strange noises at night and start to see unsettling things. One night, they wake up to find their tents slashed open and their food and supplies missing. They start to think they're being watched, and they're right.
Who's watching them?
That's what they're trying to figure out. As they explore the campground further, they find strange symbols carved into trees and a general feeling of unease. They set up camp further away from the creepy woods, but the strange occurrences continue. Missing supplies, flickering lights, and the feeling of being watched drive a wedge between them. Accusations fly as paranoia sets in. They start to wonder if one of them is playing a cruel prank, or if something truly sinister is going on.
So what really is going on?
It turns out they weren't being watched by people, but by something else entirely. Deep in the woods surrounding the campground lived a family of creatures, drawn to the noise and light of the campers. These creatures were small, nocturnal, and had an otherworldly intelligence. They were fascinated by humans and their strange customs, but also felt threatened by them. As the campers grew more frightened and paranoid, the creatures' mischief escalated. They played tricks, stole supplies, and even tried to communicate using strange sounds and lights, but their attempts at contact were misunderstood, leading to further fear and chaos among the campers.
Then what happened?
The group eventually became so terrified that they decided to abandon the campground and head back to civilization. As they fled into the night, they could hear the creatures' eerie calls growing fainter and fainter behind them. They made it back to town safely, but the experience left them shaken and changed. Some of them never went camping again. As for the creatures of the woods, they returned to their hidden world, continuing to watch and study the strange two-legged creatures they called humans.
That's pretty spooky.
I told you a different kind of spooky. You want to hear another one? Or would you rather talk about something else?
Tell me another one.
Alright, here we go. Imagine this. You're driving through a deserted town on a foggy night. The streetlights flicker on and off, and there's an eerie silence broken only by the sound of your tires on the wet pavement. You decide to stop at a gas station to refuel and grab a snack. The place is dimly lit, and there's an old, dusty vending machine in the corner. You grab a bag of chips and head back to your car. But as you turn around, you notice something strange. The vending machine seems to be glowing from within, and that's when you hear a soft, almost musical humming sound coming from inside.
Then what happened?
You decide to investigate the humming noise. Slowly, you approach the vending machine, your heart pounding in your chest. As you get closer, the humming grows louder, and you can see strange shadows moving behind the glass. Suddenly, the glass shatters, and a blinding light erupts from the machine. When your eyes adjust, you see rows of glowing, pulsating objects where the snacks used to be, and they're all staring right at you.
So where did everything go?
That's a good question. After the blinding light, everything seems to go haywire. The gas station lights flicker and die, plunging the place into darkness. You can still hear the humming from the vending machine, but it's starting to sound more like a high-pitched whine. Then you hear a voice, not a human voice, but something, otherworldly. It's coming from the vending machine, and it's speaking in a language you don't understand. You have no idea what's going on, and you just want to get out of there.
Tell me a more scary Halloween story.
Alright, let's get spooky. Picture this. A dense, eerie fog rolls into a small town, so thick you can barely see your hand in front of your face. People start disappearing without a trace. Cars are found abandoned on the side of the road. Doors open, keys still in the ignition. Pets vanish from backyards, never to be seen again. The townsfolk are gripped by fear, their windows boarded up tight. Strange lights flicker in the distance, and there's a sense of impending doom hanging heavy in the air.
Then what happened?
Then, on Halloween night, the fog grows thicker, and a chilling silence descends on the town. People huddle together in their homes, terrified of what might be lurking outside. And then, they start to hear it, a low, guttural growl echoing through the fog. It's a sound unlike anything they've ever heard before, and it sends shivers down their spines. One by one, the lights in the town start to go out, plunging the town into complete darkness. And that's when the real terror begins.
That sounds pretty cool. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you too. Hope you have a spooky and safe night.
Happy Halloween for me and Google Gemini.